party is traversing through a sandstone labyrinth deep in the elemental plane of Earth. They feel a disturbance in the air, as though something is about to happen, and then a rush of air blows down a narrow passageway. A cacophony of noise moves closer and louder, which sounds like an amplified sand dial. Out of the dimmest reaches of the party's torchlight, something pops into view. Its quote-unquote body is a collection of dust and debris beautifully crafted to look like a statue. The negative space in the creature makes it hard to work out what it is, but nevertheless, the party's seasoned engineers prepares for battle. The party rolls for initiative, and the rogue is up first. He fires an arrow from his crossbow, but it goes straight to without hitting the creature. "This is going to be long and difficult," the party's sorcerer remarks. After a few rounds of combat, the party bests the creature, and it explodes in a cloud of dust and sediment. The party makes con saves to avoid being blinded. Either way, they're filthy now. So today's video is on the Dusk Hulk. First off, what does Bixby tell us about it? Dusk Hulks are a floating miasma of rock and air. They're little more than clouds of dust, gravel, and other sediment, which barely maintains a cohesive form. They are descendants from enclaves of stone giants who lived in extreme and isolated environments. Dusk Hulks maintain their ancestral passion for artistry, but instead of carving stone, they shape their bodies as works of art. They fly, following air currents through the air, or underground tunnels like living sandstorms. They are said to create ever-shifting, mesmerizing dances with their forms as they move. When a Dusk Hulk dies, it is said that they disperse into a cloud of dust. Next up is the mechanics. So Dusk Hulks are CR5, they are large, they're elemental, and they're typically chaotic neutral. They have an AC of 16 and hit points of 68, making it harder to hit, but lower hit points than a comparable creature like a CR5 fire elemental. The Dusk Hulk has some condition and damage immunities, which makes sense with a creature like this. The most interesting mechanic of the Dusk Hulk is its death trigger. When the Dusk Hulk dies, it causes explosion. So the creatures within a 10-foot radius need to make a DC 14 con save or be blinded for 1 minute. Unfortunately, this also has the 5e templating where your creature gets to make the save at the end of every turn, but that's just a minor gripe. In combat, the Dusk Hulk has a mid-slam attack and interesting stinging dust ability. If a creature is in the same space as the Dusk Hulk, it can force it to roll a con save or take damage and be blinded, half damage on a successful save. This is comparable to, say, the Ignite ability on the aforementioned Fire Elemental. It does a good chunk of damage at 3d6. The creature also has a death trigger, which I will cover briefly in the conclusion. So to conclude, in my opinion, the most interesting thing about this creature is what happens when it dies. Which is to say, something happens when it dies, which is atypical of 5e. The creature is pretty mid. It's got underwhelming stats, boring attacks, and no indication of how it could be used to roleplay or interact with the characters. I wish the writers would have lent in more to the artistic side of this creature and explain its culture and history, more so than just so that ideas could spark in DM's brains. If there are other Hulks, I might skip reviewing them after this. After the Highs of the Death Giant, it's particularly boring. I would give the Dusk Hulk like a 7 out of 20. Not terrible, but I could never see myself running them.